Hey guys, Jonathan here, and in today's video, we're taking a look at every single LEGO X-Men minifigure that has ever been offered by LEGO, and I'll be telling you the value of all of them. Now, first and foremost, LEGO sent me the new X-Men Mansion early to review, so that's how I'm able to do this video at the time that I am, if you're watching it when it came out, and unfortunately, we don't really know the value for those figures yet, but we can probably take some rough estimates. Anyway, stick around to the end of the video to find out how much all of these figures would cost you to add to your collection. Thanks to LEGO for sending me the X-Men Mansion to review, and let's get into the video. Alright, so we start things off in 2012 with Wolverine. Of course, 2012 being the return year for LEGO Marvel, if you don't count those old Spider-Man sets, and really just a great year for the theme overall, getting these characters in LEGO form for the first time. This used a very unique shade of yellow, which will be used pretty consistently throughout the rest of Wolverine's appearances until 2023 or so, but I loved that the cowl was printed on the back of the torso there to show that it was just kind of hanging there ready for him to put the cowl on, but of course it didn't come with that piece. It used the old vampire hair, and he has a reversible head, as you can see here, with an angry snarl on one side and a collected look on the other. Of course, this was the first Wolverine, so it's the first time he has claws, and he had hip and leg printing, which made it a really unique figure overall. Now, being that this is the original Wolverine figure, not to mention it looks so much like the Deadpool and Wolverine version, on today's market, he sells for about $30. That same set gave us Classic Magneto, and this was our only true Classic Magneto, if you will, until 2024's X-Men Mansion, which makes this a really cool figure both in terms of historical reasons and just the fact that it is the original. That being said, it's a very faithful take on his classic look from the comic books, and of course the cartoons too. He has a reversible head, as you can see, with those bushy gray eyebrows, and this was the first time we got Magneto's helmet, which was very cool too. On today's market, he goes for about $32, but remember, this video is coming out before the X-Men Mansion has hit the market, so it's tough to say if this will go up or down in value since there's a newer version, which is similar, but not quite the same. And of course, 2012 gave us Deadpool in the same set as the previous two figures. Deadpool has only ever come in one LEGO set ever. There are two Comic-Con exclusives we'll look at as this list continues on, but it's an incredibly rare figure, not only because it's over a decade old, but also it doesn't seem like LEGO will be making Deadpool again anytime soon. I hope that that changes, but that being said, this figure's only getting more and more desirable as years go by. On today's market, he sells for about $85, which is quite wild, but it's a great figure nonetheless, and certainly understandable given the popularity and the rarity of this figure. Speaking of popular and rare, 2012 also gave us Jean Grey at Comic-Con. Only 1,000 of these figures were produced, and I paid a hefty fee to get this one in my collection, and it's a really incredible figure, guys. I love that they gave it hip printing there with the little sash coming down, as well as leg printing, and she also has pretty great back printing as well, and the reverse side of her head has her angry yellow eyes, and although we did get a new Jean Grey in the X-Men Mansion, it is pretty crazy that the true version of Phoenix remains exclusive to Comic-Con from 2012. On today's market, she goes for about $1,200, which is pretty crazy. 2 years later, we got an X-Men versus the Sentinel set, which gave us this awesome version of Wolverine in his classic comic book look with the brown and yellow color scheme. This was the first time we ever got Wolverine's cowl as well, which we can lift up to see he's got a little band around his eyes so that when you put the cowl on, his eyes are white. Of course, the reverse side, though, does have kind of a scraggly look that you could put the vampire hair on from before, and it makes for a really great figure all around. Now, of course, this is one of Wolverine's classic comic book suits, and considering we only ever got it in this set, on today's market, he goes for about $28. 2014 gave us Cyclops as well in his classic look from the 80s, and this is such a great figure despite the fact that it's simple. He has a little bit of printing on the back of the head as well as the back of his torso, and considering this was the first Cyclops ever and our only Cyclops until 2024, it's a real standout figure. He's worth about $22 today. This set also gave us Magneto again in a slightly more obscure costume here, of course being purple with the red cape. It does have some really nice printing on the back of the torso as well that gets covered up by the cape, and the hairpiece here is actually removable. You can see he has a double-sided head, and he also, of course, came with his classic helmet. Now, this version of Magneto is not as iconic as the previous ones, so he's worth a little bit less at $12. In fact, it's the cheapest Magneto, well, except for one we're going to look at in just a minute. 2014 also gave us the first Storm minifigure ever. This is such a cool figure, and it had this really unique cape here, which of course you could see connects underneath the neck here when we lift the hair up. She's also got a reversible head with white Storm eyes, which looks great, and you'll notice that this version has printing on the wrists. That is not from the original figure. I used the arms from Bumblebee from the DC CMF and just permanently left them on this figure, so they didn't come on there, but they do look really good. That being said, this Storm is very rare and very desirable and comes in at about $32 today. We wouldn't see X-Men in LEGO sets for several years after that, and this was in the Mighty Micros lineup, where we got Magneto and Wolverine. Now, for those that don't know, Mighty Micros was a short-lived sub-theme of LEGO Marvel and LEGO DC, for that matter, where we got these cartoony-looking figures with short legs that drove bumper cars to fight against each other. Now, these are kind of cool because they do have that really cartoony look, and Magneto's helmet came in a slightly cheaper set here. He also could flip the helmet around to show an alternate side of the face, but because these are kind of cartoony and not super serious and don't really fit in with your collection all that great, they aren't worth a ton. In fact, by today's standards, Magneto goes for about $11 to $12, which is why when we looked at the last Magneto, I said, these are the two cheaper ones, and Wolverine only goes for about $8. Now, that's not to say every X-Men figure that year was cheap, because this is the Comic-Con exclusive Deadpool duck. You could only get this if you won a raffle at San Diego Comic-Con in 2017, and it's thought that there were only about 1,500 of these made. For those that don't know, Deadpool Duck is a multiversal character from an alternate universe where Deadpool and Howard the Duck were merged into one being. This used the Donald Duck head and gave a very comical print with the different eye sizes there, even printing inside the mouth for the tongue and all of that. It's a really, really great looking figure all around, and that torso is absolutely awesome for making Deadpool customs in general. That being said, considering there's so few of these out there, there's only one listed on Bricklink right now, and the asking price is $900. 2018 would give us our final X-Men themed San Diego Comic-Con figure, and that would be Sheriff Deadpool here. Now, as you can see, he's got a mariachi mustache on, which we could turn to the side and lift the hat up to show a really great Deadpool head underneath. They even gave him a little bit of extra fabric there on top of the head with the printing, so it looks absolutely phenomenal. Now, just like Deadpool Duck, there were only 1,500 of these ever made, and also you had to be at San Diego Comic-Con and win a very exclusive raffle to take this one home. It is loaded with detail, from the little holster on his leg to the Deadpool cowboy belt. As soon as we turn it around too, you can see that there's a Cowboy Deadpool logo on the back with bullets and guns on the vest. I love this figure, and it is one of the most valuable LEGO Marvel figures ever due to its detail and rarity, and right now there's only one listed for sale on Bricklink for $2,000. In 2021, we got the LEGO Spider-Man Daily Bugle, which came with Firestar as a reference to Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, the classic cartoon show. And of course, Firestar being one of the X-Men should definitely be included here, even though she technically is exclusive to a Spider-Man set. As you can see, she's got this long red hair that's exclusive to this minifigure, as well as the torso and head being exclusive here, and these color legs being relatively uncommon. I'm not saying they're rare or valuable, they're just relatively uncommon. That being said, for whatever reason, she's not worth a ton of money. I guess it's because the Daily Bugle is still out and you can still get it, but she goes for about $11 on today's market. All right, next we have Wolverine from 2022. This figure came in the Wolverine mech, which was a welcome return to X-Men characters appearing in LEGO sets. It would take a little while before we would get more, but hey, progress is progress, and it was awesome back in the day. As you can see, the cowl returned here, and it used the same idea with having the white band over his eyes on one side and just a regular smirk on the other side. We got great back printing as well, but unfortunately, no leg printing here. Still, it's a really, really great figure all around. And this figure goes for about $5 on today's market, so not a ton of money, but not too bad either. 2023 gave us the LEGO Marvel Collectible Minifigure Series 2, where we got 3 figures from X-Men 97. The first, and in my opinion best, was Wolverine from the X-Men 97 show. As you'll see, he has incredible arm printing with the hair on the arms and a little printing near the shoulders, as well as a great torso print that would be reused on some Wolverines to come. You'll see that in a moment. But also, dual molded legs with side leg printing and toe printing. It's just incredible. And when we lift the cowl up, you'll see once again he's got the band over his eyes and kind of a grim look on the other side here. He did come with a hairpiece as well if you wanted to display him without the cowl, but you'll notice when we put the cowl side by side with the previous one that it is a new lighter yellow compared to that kind of mustardy yellow that all previous Wolverines have had. So it's a really great figure. On today's market, it goes for about $9. Or $10 really, but I can see this figure going up in value a lot because of those printed arms and, of course, those dual molded legs that are really neat. All right, another figure from the Marvel CMF Series 2 is Storm. This version of Storm had a really cool white mohawk piece here, as well as this flowy cape that attaches to the wrists, some great back printing as well, and leg printing. Now, this torso print will look familiar when we see Storm from the X-Men Mansion in just a little bit, but the rest of the pieces here are unique to this figure in that they don't appear on the other version of Storm. Of course, she's got these great lightning bolts in her hand, and on today's market, she goes for about $6. But once again, I could see this going up in value because the pieces here are so valuable to upgrade the Storm from the Mansion that it's going to become more desirable with time. And our final X-Men minifigure is, of course, Beast. This is such a great figure as well, with the toe printing and hip printing, and some good back printing as well. It might have been nice to get some fur printed on the arms, but it's not really a deal breaker. That being said, he did have a brand new hairpiece here, which is exclusive to this figure, and the head can be flipped around to show his glasses with a little grin like he's teaching class. So overall, it's a very cool figure, and considering the prominent role that Beast plays in the X-Men Mansion, I can see this figure going up in value, although as of the recording of this video, he sells for about $6 online. At the beginning of 2024, we got a Wolverine minifigure in the X-Jet. Now, this figure is strikingly similar to the CMF version, which I've just now placed on the left, but as you can see, he didn't have arm printing, and the legs don't have side printing, nor are they dual molded. So it is a downgrade in a certain sense, but when we lift the helmet up here, you can see that they technically do have different expressions. The one from the CMF has a more angry expression with the side here, that has the goggles over his eyes, and then on the other side we've got a little bit more of a smirk, where this version has kind of a disgruntled look. So in a lot of ways it's kind of interesting that the version that came in the sets appears to be a little bit nicer than the CMF version, but it is cool that LEGO did give us some variation, although the CMF version is definitely better with that arm printing and dual molded legs. Crazy enough though, the version from the set goes for about $9 as of this video, so it technically goes for more than the less detailed version goes for more than the more detailed version. Say that 10 times fast. That same X-Jet set came with Rogue, who also comes in the X-Men Mansion. I forgot to mention that Wolverine from before also comes in the X-Men Mansion. Now, currently, Rogue goes for about $20 because she only came in that really expensive set, and now the only other set she comes in is pretty expensive too. As you can see, like I just showed, she does have a double-sided head, and I really like that they put the white streak of hair in her hairpiece, which looks really good. And of course, the torso and leg printing with hip printing is definitely nice as well. All right, Magneto is up next, and Magneto currently sells for about $13, and he's exclusive to the X-Men X-Jet set. It is a cool figure, but it is my least favorite Magneto figure to date, just because I think for how serious the character is, this outfit is so goofy on him. That being said, you can lift the white hair up and see that he has an angry expression on the other side, like he's in the middle of a fight. Speaking of lifting the white hair up, there is a little bit of printing on the back, nothing too crazy, and a flowy purple cape. So it's a good figure, don't get me wrong, but it is my least favorite Magneto for sure, for the reasons I was just saying. All right, now we get into interesting territory, guys, because the Cyclops on the left is from the X-Men X-Jet, and the Cyclops on the right is from the X-Men Mansion. Now, as of recording this video, I'm very grateful that LEGO sent me the X-Men Mansion early, so I'm reviewing this before the Mansion is even out. But that being said, the prices for these figures aren't listed online because, of course, the set isn't for sale yet. So from here on out, I can't really tell you what the prices of these figures are because, well, they haven't hit the market and we don't know yet. That being said, there are some variations between Cyclops. The torsos and heads are identical on both, but the one from the X-Jet has some more flowy hair and the one from the Mansion has just kind of regular brown hair. The one from the X-Jet also just has regular blue legs, and the one from the Mansion has some immaculately printed legs there that really harken back to the comics. When we flip the figure around, you can see that both heads have the same reverse side with just a friendly little smirk and some great back printing. Now, I do have a price for the one that came in the X-Jet, and he's currently priced at about $20. So if the version with less leg printing is $20, I can't even imagine what this one's going to go for when it comes out. But regardless, both are really cool figures. But at the same time, it's hard not to go with the printed one because, come on, it looks so great. All right, up next we have Storm, and like I said, she does use the same torso print from the CMF version, very, very similar. I can't spot a difference at all, but the head here is actually a slightly different shade, and it has a different print on it as well. So we'll lift up that long, flowy white hair, how nice is that piece too, to show that she's got lightning eyes here, and then when we flip that around, she's just got a friendly smirk there. When we flip her around too, we can lift up this cape to see the printing on the back, but the cape is really where the awesomeness comes in with that yellow trim along the edges, and of course she's got those lightning bolt accessories which make for a really great figure all around. Professor X. Easily my least favorite X-Men figure that's been offered here because it's just so lazy. They used the head from Loki from way back in the day and the torso from Michael Scott from The Office. I mean, everybody thinks of Professor X in his iconic green suit. Would it have been that hard to make one new torso in a green suit that could be used for anything, from city to any theme you can imagine? It's just so disappointing to me, and it feels so incredibly lazy. That being said, I do like his hover chair build quite a bit. I do feel like there are better mocks of hover chairs out there than the one LEGO gave us, and I should also point out that even though I don't actually have it, there is that GWP for Cerebro, which has this version of Professor X, and that figure is so bad that I can actually just make it with pieces I already have, including the regular wheelchair piece here, black legs, the torso from J. Jonah Jameson, and Loki's head again. I really don't know which figure is worse, and I'm just so disappointed with how bad they designed the figure here. Hopefully we get a better figure in the future, but for right now, I can definitely say Professor X is the most disappointing X-Men we've gotten to date. All right, Jean Grey is up next, a really great figure that uses that same yellow shade that a lot of the Wolverine figures used back in the day. She has a brand new colored hairpiece here that's exclusive to this figure, and of course the shoulder piece adds a lot of nice detail to the figure as well. The head is reversible with this look here, and kind of like a gritted teeth fighting look on the other side, and I really like this figure a lot, and I also think it's pretty cool that we have both versions of Jean. Granted, I know that the Comic-Con one is a figure that most people will never own, but I do think it's cool that LEGO has given us some variants over the years. Here we have Iceman, a kind of interesting inclusion because he's not really a part of X-Men 97 in any significant way, but he did still come in the X-Men Mansion. I asked the designers about this and if it's because of the Spidey and His Amazing Friends lineup, and they did confirm that's the reason they included him, since again, remember we got Firestar before, so that's pretty cool. Really nice figure overall, though, getting that leg printing with toe printing. Can't complain about it at all. It's just kind of a random inclusion, but I do like it quite a bit, and I think they did as good as they could with this figure. Okay, Magneto is up next, and I do think that the fairest way to show this figure is to compare him to the original 2012 version. They are incredibly similar, but they are different in their own unique ways. I think the 2012 version on the left looks a lot more comic booky, where the one on the right looks a lot more cartoony, and I think that there are going to be people that like both for different reasons, so I like that a lot. Now, something interesting is, I lifted up the helmet piece on the new one and looked at the item code written on the inside, and it does match the old helmet, so it looks like they were able to bring back that mold somehow, which is interesting because LEGO always tells us that they can't keep a mold for more than 5 years, but somehow they brought the Magneto mold back, so that's pretty interesting. Of course, here he just has all red legs instead of the purple hips that the original one had, and we can't forget to talk about that purple cape here, which is rubber. That's a change that LEGO made in 2024, kind of putting more rubber capes on minifigs. I'm not a big fan of them in general, but I do think it works pretty well on Magneto. If we lift the helmet up, you can see that he also has an alternate expression, and he did come with a white hairpiece that you could put on him. I have to find it here, but here it is. So if you wanted to display him without the helmet, you certainly could do that too, and it makes for a really good figure all around. All right, Bishop is here. Obviously, the first time we've ever gotten him as a minifig, and he is absolutely incredible. If we lift his hair up, you can see he does have an alternate expression on the back of his head and some great torso printing on the back there that unfortunately gets covered up by the hair, but I don't mind it so much because the rest of the figure is truly amazing. This is one of my favorite X-Men figures in the entire lineup, and I think that they absolutely crushed it with the leg print, torso print, and everything else going on. I love this figure, and I hope that this level of detail continues for new X-Men that we get in the future. Assuming we do. Woo, I'm about to make a name. Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here with Gambit. I love this figure so much. Using this purple piece here to show the effect of him throwing his cards looks absolutely incredible. I'm going to go ahead and move that out of the way. And in the Avengers Mission Demolition movie, we also see Gambit there, but in that film, he has dual-molded legs. Otherwise, the design is basically the same. Would I have liked dual-molded legs on this? Yeah, of course, who wouldn't? But I do totally understand why they weren't able to do it. I just hope in the future maybe that could be an option. That being said, the head is reversible with a, kind of determined look on the other side, and I love that we got the purple eyes on this, or pink eyes, or whatever you would call them. I think it works out really well, and this might just be my favorite X-Men minifigure after Deadpool. So, pretty amazing, and with that being said, let's zoom out the video and call it a day. All right, guys, well, that's going to conclude this video. Of course, the grand total you've been waiting to hear is how much all of these figures would be worth combined. Well, considering that you can just go ahead and buy the X-Men Mansion for $330 and get all of those new minifigs, I'm going to factor that into the grand total price, and it comes out to $4,790. That's crazy. Of course, most of the value is in these 3 figures from Comic-Con here, but still, it's a very valuable collection to try and complete. Anyways, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.